My name is Vaida Rumana, and today my presentation topic is exploring research approaches to migrant and refugee education, TESOL. First of all, I'll discuss with my presentation overview. In this presentation, I'll first introduce the research problem and context, the outline for studies that represent different research paradigms. After that, I'll compare their the methodologies, highlight strengths and limitations, and discuss implications and professional practice. After that, finally, I'll reflect on challenges and opportunities for translating research into real educational practice. Research problem and context. The core problem with this presentation addresses is how TESOL educators can effectively support migrants and refugee learners in language learning, well-being, and social integration. In today's classroom, increasing global migration means many students arrive with disrupted schooling trauma and language barriers. Teachers must balance academic instruction with emotional and cultural support, making this is a critical area for evidence-based research. Next, I'll discuss about the qualitative Kauko and Willickson. The first study by Kauko and Willickson uses a qualitative research approaches to explore how migrant children in Australia and Finland experience schooling, through interviews and classroom observations. They found not education isn't just about academics, it's also about belonging and identity. Teachers who acknowledge students' lived experience create more inclusive classrooms. This reflects a constructivist paradigm focusing on meaning and human experience. And then I discussed about the qualitative one, the second study by Daman and DeGivos, and takes a quantitative positivist approach. They surveyed over 3,000 Syrian refugees in the Netherlands to study how reception conditions like time in asylum centers and relocations affect mental health and language proficiency. The findings show that unstable reception environments harm both well-being and learning outcomes, highlighting the policy implications of structural factors. Then I discussed about the mixed methods by Kettler. The third study adopts some mixed methods approach, combining surveys and interviews to examine how schools support refugee students. The quantitative data identified pattern and data explained why certain challenges occurred. This problematic paradigm values practical and solutions by linking statistical trends with personal narratives, providing a more complete understanding. Then I discussed about action research. The fourth study by Biesta and Robinson is based in action research. It explores how teacher-led inquiry can improve inclusive practices for migrant learners. Through reflective journals and groups discussions, teachers became active researchers who identified improvements. This critical paradigm promotes social justice and teacher agency, linking reflection directly to action. And then the comparison of paradigms. Here I added two of the overview, but I discussed four because of this less space. I only add two. These four studies represent distinct research paradigms: constructivist and positivist, pragmatic and critical. Each paradigm views reality differently. Qualitative studies explores meanings, as always, quantitative studies measures relationships. Mixed methods bridge both, and action research aims to transform practice. Together, they illustrate that no single approach is sufficient alone. Combining them enriches our understanding of TESOL and migrant education. The key themes across all studies, several key themes emerge. First, learners' a social, emotional well-being and sense of belonging are central to successful language learning. Right, because second, stable policies and the reception conditions are vital. Third, the teacher agency, our ability to reflect, adapt, and act shapes inclusion. Collectively, these studies show that effective TESOL practice depends on integrating emotional, social, and academic support. In slide 10, I discussed about the strengths and limitations summary. Each approach offers unique strengths like qualitative research, and the quantitative methods provides measurable evidence, as I have discussed before. Mixed methods combine both, and the action creates the real classroom change. However, limitations include small sample sizes, in limited generalization, and difficulty translating research findings also varieties of contexts. Balancing rigor and relevance remains on an ongoing challenge. Implications for practice. These findings encourage TESOL educators to apply inclusive, evidence-informed practices. Teachers should use both quantitative data and qualitative insights, such as student reflection. Collaboration with communities and engagement in small-scale classroom research can help bridge theory and practice while promoting a more equitable learning environment. Then I discussed about the challenges in research translation. Translating research into practice is not straightforward. Teachers often face challenges such as limited resources, maybe time constraints, and the gap between research settings and the real classroom problems. Adapting international research to local, culturally diverse contexts also requires sensitivity. For example, strategies effective in one country may need a modification in another due to cultural or policy differences. Last but not the least, the opportunities for research translation. And despite challenges, and there are many opportunities, teachers can form professional learning communities to share and apply research. Cross-cultural collaborations can lead to policy improvements, and action research allows teachers to continuously improve their own practice, while digital platforms provide accessible spaces for sharing new insights and strategies. Lastly, conclusion. To conclude the topic, I've said that exploring diverse research paradigms depends our understanding of migrant and refugee education. Qualitative studies that gives personal voice, and quantitative studies in informed policies. An effective TESOL practice lies in connecting classrooms readings with broader structural awareness, like ensuring education remains both equitable and transformative. That's all about my presentation. Thank you so much.